Hey everyone, this is Randy from BibleBuyingGuide.com. Today I'm taking a look at the Shepherd New King James Bible from Humble Lamb. This is the amethyst, so it's a purple color, and I went with the 4-edge art gilt, which is my favorite style of art gilt. Now the purple, it's a good purple. It's not a girly looking purple, I don't think. I like it. It comes in a really thick box too. It's an exceptional box. So the Shepherd, I keep wanting to call this the Lion. I've said Lion for so long. The Shepherd is it's a reprint of the original New King James from Humble Lamb, but they've made some changes. The layout is exactly the same. Okay, so we have a thicker leather, a lot thicker leather. That's R.L. Allen quality right there, or just, the big names. Take the big names like R.L. Allen, Crossway, Schuyler, Cambridge. This leather looks and feels like their leather. Has perimeter stitching, a little bit of a bend around there. I like that. I like the way that works. Rounded spine. I prefer rounded spines. This might be a little more rounded than I like, but still I like it better than a square spine. 1, 2, 3, 4 spine hubs with the Word of God printed on the spine, just like the Lion. This one is edge-line goatskin. So the liner itself is goatskin. That's interesting. And then it has the gilt line around, and then Shepherd and Humble Lamb printed on the inside. I like that. That's interesting. It's a good way to do that. There's the edge-line tab. It's not too stiff. It's glued in with the sheets all the way up. So that helps a little bit. And then we've got several end sheets, which helps build structure. I like when they include that. And then a presentation page, and then the Word of God. Now this is made in China, and it is a 32 GSM ivory paper. I like ivory. Anything with it has a slightly cream tone that you see when you look in here. I like that. Typeset in 9-point Milo serif. And then this one has blue highlights rather than red. So here we go. Some basics. This is a single column setting with references in the outer margin. Now these are the standard New King James references from Thomas Nelson. And it has the reduced set of footnotes. And the footnotes are in the footer. Have about 14 to 16 words per line. And the 9-point Milo font looks larger than it is. It has a lot of space between the lines, which gives it a lot of white space in here. It's easy to read. Extra indentation in the paragraphs makes them stand out. Blue for the chapter numbers. All other highlights. See blue over here for these chapter numbers. All other highlights, such as the section headings and the book names, are in bold black. Poetic setting. Now normally I would say that's too many words per line, but it has a lot of inner margin space to bring the text out on the flat part of the page. Now here we can see on the other side of the page we have Gustave Doré artwork, and it is a little bit faded, almost a little bit dark in some areas, but I wouldn't have thought anything about it if I hadn't have seen the new Cambridge Family Chronicle Bible with a Gustave Doré images in there. They look really good, but that's a different paper. You can only do so much on this 32 GSM paper. But it includes the illustration, the title, and then the verse that it goes with. And it's near the verses that they correspond to. Lays open really well. Smythe sewn, of course. There's the 4-edge art, because I went with the 4-edge art instead of the art gilt. So there's what it looks like normally, which you do still see the artwork in there because of the rounded spine. And then when you open it, there it is. Now, this isn't Gustave Doré, but it's done in his style. It's using pointillism. Done in his style. Looks really good. Paper is opaque. You can see a little bit of the show through from the other side with artwork, but you mostly see the artwork from the other side when it's a dark image. Like this one is not, so that doesn't stand out. This one is a little bit darker, so let's see how it looks. So that's a little bit more noticeable. Not bad though. I'm fine with it. This paper is slightly more opaque than the previous edition, I think. And then here's Psalms. Psalms is pretty. The advantage in having 14 to 16 words per line is the poetic setting. You can't beat that poetic setting. It's beautiful. There's Psalm in blue. Easy to read. This Bible's great for reading. Now, here we have the New Testament, and we see that the words of Christ are in blue. Whereas the previous edition, they were in red. This one changed to blue. And this is a little bit brighter blue than the Humble Lamb Lion. It's not a bright blue. It's a lot more noticeable than the Lion. No comparison. So letters are indented. Let me show you one of those. Like Ezra. Ezra is my favorite place to look at indented letters. Then we have the poetic setting, and then we have italics for supplied words. Old Testament quotes are in standard text. They don't stand out any differently. 3 ribbons. 3 satin ribbons. Now these are double-sided. They're really thick. I like the look and feel of these. 10 millimeter wide, or the 3/8 inch wide. They come out about 3 inches. And then orange and white head tail bands, which, you know, Tennessee, hey, I'm from Tennessee, I can like that. East Tennessee. There's a concordance. It is also in blue. Blue highlights for the main words. Pretty good concordance. Really good for study. And then the Humble Lamb maps. Now these are the same maps from the Lion. They're done well. Good thick paper, the non-glossy, the matte finish, and then the dark colors, but they're bold. I like these colors. These are good maps. So there we go. Meridian, if I'm saying that correctly, goatskin. Individually handcrafted. I like that. That's a good Bible. Let's look at our size and weight. About 6 and 6.5 by 9, around 9.5, and then 1 3/4. Let's weigh it. 2 pounds, 12.8 ounces. So of course we're going to do some comparisons, and we're going to start with the Word of God from Humble Lamb, the original New King James. So there's the original Humble Lamb. They didn't call this one the Shepherd, they just call it the Word of God. And you can see that it's about the same size. The footprint is the same. Big difference in the spine design. I do prefer the spine design of the new one. It just looks different. This one, it looks the same as others. The leather is one of the major differences. The leather on the original is really soft, really thin, but it's tough. It's not a bad leather. It's really soft, but it also is floppy, and that causes it to be a little bit more difficult to hold open. The new one is a lot easier to hold open because of how stiff that cover is. It's not a stiff cover, but it's stiffish. It's stiffer than a lot of goat skin, so that's easy to hold open. Now the pagination is identical. The only difference between the pagination, between the layout, is that the original is red highlights and red letter versus the blue highlights and blue letter in the new one. So let's go to a red letter area. So page 1600. Page 1600, and we are on the same page in both. So there's what they look like. I'll go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. Kind of hard to compare them when you're trying to show the same page. But between the two, there's no question. The new one steps it up a notch. It's it's at least one notch better than the original. Next, I'm going to compare to the New King James Single Column Reference Edition Premier Collection from Thomas Nelson. This is the closest Bible to this one as far as size and quality. The Thomas Nelson is thicker and has a noticeably smaller footprint. This one's got 36 GSM paper with a larger font versus the 32 GSM. So we're looking at about a 10 point versus a 9 point. Not a major difference though. Here's how they compare. Let's see. Let's get to some similar pages. There we go. They are very similar. Thomas Nelson is a little bit larger font, a little bit darker font. And then this one has red highlights in the text that link to the references. Good Bible, but I actually think it's too thick. I prefer the thickness of the Humble Lamb. Finally, let's compare to the New King James Clarion from Cambridge. Clarion is one of my all-time favorite Bibles in every translation. So let's take a look at the size. Major difference on the size. The footprint. The Clarion is about the same thickness, but then the footprint is big difference. The Clarion has 28 GSM paper versus the 32 in the Humble Lamb. Fewer words per line. The font size is about the same. Get over here to a psalm. We'll compare. The font size is about the same, but the main difference is the space between the lines on the Humble Lamb. Quite a bit more space. But now, the Clarion also does have quite a bit of space between the lines, just not as much as the Humble Lamb. Both have the same design as far as references, reference placement. References are straight out next to the verses they correspond to, and that makes it easy to find. Makes verses easier to find. So I love this Bible. This is probably the Bible that I was requested to review more than any other in the past few months. And I see why. This is a beautiful Bible. The paper is better, a little bit rougher texture than the original, but it is thicker. Show through is a little bit less, but it has that ivory color, which in my opinion is easier on the eyes. I prefer to read from this one. I do like the blue letter. The paper is easy to grab and turn because of that roughness to it. That's excellent paper. The references being in the margins next to the verses they correspond to helps make them easier to find. Now, when you're looking for verses, they are kind of small. Verse numbers are, so they're a little bit difficult to spot quickly. They don't stand out at all. That makes this better for reading, but it's not ideal for finding verses quick. Separating the references and the footnotes makes it easier to find what you're looking for quick. You don't have to look through all of the references to find the few footnotes that you need. Print is consistent, blue is consistent, black is consistent. It's beautiful. So this is an easy New King James to recommend. I have no problems recommending this. I would not have guessed it's made in China. That actually surprises me for it to be this quality. It does not feel like it's made in China. Not even close. I would never have known. So they've done good work. Humble Lamb did supply this in exchange for an honest review. My honest review is this is their best, one of the best New King James you can get. It's a good size. It's made well. The materials are excellent. It's right up there with any of the other Bibles I've seen. I do think it's a little bit better quality than the Thomas Nelson. It's up there with the rest of them. So I will place some links in the notes so that you can make a purchase if you're interested. Also, I'll place links to BibleBindGuide.com to the review, written review, where I always give more detail. If you have any questions, let me know. I will attempt to answer. And thanks for watching.